Hey everybody, welcome back to We Are the Batman. I'm Mike.
And this is Matthew.
So happy belated Valentine's Day. That's kind of the theme we're going for on this week's episode. We're talking about the women that have loved Batman, that Batman has loved, as a belated discussion of love. Because look, it was Valentine's Day. You guys have love. Matt, you've got love. I've got a cat. You know, we all have love in our lives, and so we thought it would be great to talk about all times Batman has had love in his life, and what we think of how those relationships played out, what we think of the characters themselves. Um, Before we get into that, little teeny tiny bit of news, and it's not really DC or Batman related, but it's too cool to not talk about. Which is that the casting for Marvel's The Fantastic Four was announced on Valentine's Day. We have got and I got to pull it up because I forget the one guy's name. But Pedro Pascal has been cast as Reed Richards.
Mm-hmm.
Vanessa Kirby has been cast as Sue Storm. Um, Eben Moss Bachrach, I think I'm pronouncing that wrong, who you might know from Andor and a plethora of other things, is playing Ben Grimm. And Joseph Quinn, who played Eddie in Stranger Things Season 4, is going to be playing Johnny Storm. Stacked cast, very stacked cast. Vanessa Kirby made huge waves with The Crown. Bond has been he's in The Bear, which is doing great right now. Like I said, he was really good in the few episodes of Andor that he was in. Of course, you know, we all loved Eddie in Stranger Things. Joseph Quinn really brought a great character to life for one season. And who doesn't love Daddy Pedro? Come on. What do you think about this cast, Matt?
I think it's cool. Like I always say, and I learned it from somebody we don't like now, but it is true. I go with what he says. Is it's never a bad idea to hire great talent.
Yeah.
From what I've seen of most of these people, talented. Pedro Pascal, infinitely talented, has been knocking things out of the park for the last several years.
Yeah.
My only thing is this, and this is where it's kind of odd because, you know, I'm half Mexican.
Yeah.
If this is supposed to be what everybody is assuming is that weird, like it takes place in the past, they come to the present or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
How are we dealing with the fact that Pedro Pascal is obviously Hispanic? Or are we going to hide it? And now we've got the from the second Fantastic Four setup. What's her name? Oh my gosh. Dark Angel. Jessica Alba.
Jessica Alba.
Now you've got the Jessica Alba thing where we're just negating that she's Hispanic and acting like she's white.
Yeah.
I think that's the only thing that's making me go, okay, are we just going to ignore it? Or is it going to be in present time and it's going to be a thing? Or is it like that's why he's an outcast in the past because of the racism?
Maybe.
So that's my only big thing where I'm like, I'm really, really tired of Hispanic characters or Hispanic actors just being cast as characters and it's not mentioned. Like Oscar Isaac as Moon Knight.
Yeah.
Like, I guess we're just going to pretend like he looks like he's Egyptian and he's Jewish.
I think because I was curious about that. Where he's portrayed as Jewish, but it's like but also I think his mother, I believe she was Hispanic. I don't know. It was interesting, and I'm saying this is a middle class white guy, so like take what I have to say with a grain of salt. But the time travel thing has been rumored. It has not been confirmed. I know some people were reading a little bit into the poster that they posted, and because I think it was like the Nixon cover of Time magazine or something that Ben is reading. I don't know. That we'll see. I think there are ways to work around that. I think you bring up a good idea of like, maybe part of what made him so desperate to make his experiment work is that he was facing some hardships due to the fact that he was a Hispanic man in the 60s. We saw a little bit of that with in Loki season 2 with and I'm suddenly drawing a blank on Victor Timely. where he was struggling to get people to take him seriously as an inventor. Which, granted, we know now that he's a con man, but because of some not so subtle, they didn't go out. It was Disney Marvel. They didn't go out and say the N word, but there was some not so subtle racism happening in that sequence. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll because we don't know who the villain is. We're assuming it's Doctor Doom. Um, could be Mole Man. Who knows? But probably not. We'll see when we see an actual, and it's set. You notice the release date on this thing?
July 25th, 2025.
Yeah, you know why that sounds familiar? The same day as Superman Legacy.
Ooh.
So one of them's going to have to move.
Or are they? Are we gonna have
Ooh.
a
What's
fantastic legacy? A Superman
yeah
4?
this
The
the
first family Superman? I don't know. How would you combine
the
those?
the,
Super 4?
super a super fantastic weekend is what it is.
There you
We're
go.
gonna
There
have
you
a
go.
super fantastic weekend. Good lord, imagine what just the box office is going to explode
If
if
they
that
keep it,
sticks.
if they stick it. I mean, I think it'd be fun. No one's ever done that. As
No,
many comic book movies, everyone's moved or things have changed.
and here's the thing: Superman's release date has been on the books and public for a while.
Yeah.
Disney saying they're putting theirs out now, that's them. They're calling DC out.
Yeah, I
They're
think
they're
so.
they're they're issuing a challenge to DC, and
Not
I think James Gunn is going to stand by because they're already, as we know, they are doing production starts on Superman Legacy in March. It was confirmed over the last week or so that table reads and final costume fittings were going on for Nathan Fillion and everything. So we don't know how long into pre-production or what have you they are with Fantastic Four, but they seems to me like Superman's already way ahead of schedule.
well, and I also like this was leaked. This cast list was leaked a while back.
Was that Jeff Snyder that leaked that?
I believe so,
Did
yes.
scoop that? Jeff Snyder got that on the hot mic with John Roca.
Yeah.
Plug in friends of the show.
Yeah, but I mean, my point more is like they may have just announced it.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean there's not complete because dude, that's a year and a half away, under a year and a half away for I would assume CGI heavy project.
Well, not only that, something that comes to mind is everybody kept wondering why Pedro Pascal has been like in a sling for a while when he was at the awards and all that, and he wouldn't say. Now, granted, it could just be a private thing, and he doesn't want to make it anyone else's business, and that's fine. Could be he got injured on the set of the Fantastic Four and couldn't talk about it because they didn't want to announce anything about the movie yet. I don't know.
I mean, I'm just saying,
It's
like,
Hollywood.
look, you have one of your characters is going to be a Gollum level CGI character. The Thing. I'm assuming
Yeah.
they're going to do the Thanos thing with the Thing.
What they should do is they should call in Andy Serkis to since he's already a friend of Disney Marvel, see to get him to seriously get him to advise on the mocap.
He may already be there. We don't know.
I don't
Do
know.
mocap on the volume? Good night. Anyway,
Anyway,
um,
um,
so no, I think it's cool. I'm excited to see if we can get a Fantastic Four movie that everybody will like. Because as much as I don't mind that one from the early 2000s, the sequel's terrible. That one from the mid
from
2000s,
2014,
yeah, the one from 2014 is atrocious.
I've never seen a movie just universally hated quite like that remake for 2014 2015. Look, I am on the record on there's numerous places on the internet you can find me saying this. I do not think a live action Fantastic Four is doable. I think the concept of the Fantastic Four is just so comic booky that it just like to me the Fantastic Four is almost in the same. It's just too cliche. It's it's too cheesy. It's too campy. I don't And again, like I understand we live in a world where we've had three banger Guardians of the Galaxy movies. You know, I'm aware of that, but this, I don't know. It just feels, it feels too. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how else to say it. I like this cast a lot until I start hearing anything about writers and directors, and villain casting. Uh, I'm cautiously optimistic from the cast alone, but that's about all I can give you.
Yeah. Well, and I think what we've seen, especially over the last 3 years, is the comic movies have not been much different. It just seems like they're rehashing.
Yeah,
You're gonna have to do something completely different to make this work. It can't be like
yeah,
anything else you guys have done in the past. It's got to be something completely different. I think that's the challenge. And fingers crossed with what has happened with Daredevil's show, I'm hoping they do that across the board and they take this seriously and do it right. And if that's the case, cool. But we'll see.
yeah. We'll see. I would love to be proven wrong. So let's hop into this main topic now, Matt. You know, Batman has loved a lot in his life, and you know, sometimes the relationships are great, sometimes the relationships happen on a rooftop just to make your movie feature length. Uh, yeah. Anyway, let's start off with kind of probably the smallest, not smallest romance, but just the least represented. Let's start off with Andrea Beaumont, who is introduced to us in Batman Mask of the Phantasm, um, as this old flame who has now become a ghoulish serial killer, really.
Yeah.
And it's a character that was honestly, I think, a little ahead of its time, and is now getting added into mainstream DC Comics a bit more. And but yeah, I quite enjoy this, and I'm glad we're getting more of Andrea Phantasm in the Batman lore now. You and I have, when we've talked about, you know, part two of Matt Reeves, we both were like, yeah, get, I think we said, I think it was Karen Gillan. We said, like, get her in there as Andrea Beaumont, as the Phantasm for Robert Pattinson's Batman. It's a really cool character, and I hope we give her kind of the Harley Quinn treatment and really make her more of a mainstream, not mainstream, but prevalent uh, part of the Batman lore.
Yeah, I really liked that romance. I think it was interesting of, because even though Batman has had love interests, they've always been post Batman.
Yeah,
So the idea of him meeting somebody in the middle of his journey to becoming Batman and suddenly going like, "Oh wait, maybe I don't have to do this. Maybe I can get married and have family and be happy and everything's cool." And then through nothing he did, tragedy strikes her and she has her own journey becoming a vigilante that completely conflicts their lives and messes everything up. And then when she returns, he doesn't know what to do. And then especially, I don't know if there's spoilers for a 30-year-old movie, but
no,
she ends up being the, like you said, the serial killer, the villain. So I think it's a really cool thing, and a lot of similar to a lot of his romances, you have this tragedy, something tragic or something that just doesn't allow it to mesh.
yeah,
And I think it's really cool, especially having recently reread Year Two, and we'll get into this when we do the Year Two episode much
yeah,
more. But like, that storyline is from that book. He
hmm,
does now, it doesn't end up being her as the vigilante or whatever,
and
but
it's
there
not the
is
Phantasm, it's the Reaper or something
the
like that.
Reaper, and it's her dad who's the Reaper or
Yeah,
something. But it's interesting that this Mask of the Phantasm that became its own thing was really, really based on a comic. They just kind of juggled, mixed the things and made it more
well,
interesting.
they did what most modern comic book movies do.
Yeah.
Is they take, I mean, that's what the Batman did. Was the Batman an exact copy of Year One or Ego or The Long Halloween? No, but it took like major plot points from them and just updated them a little bit. Same thing with like Captain America Civil War
Yeah.
or what we
Winter
had
Soldier.
Winter Soldier. Thank you. That's the way. So in a way, Mask of the Phantasm was really ahead of its time, as far as comic book movies go, because I mean, it truly was. Yes, it's called something different, and but it's really a very close adaptation of the year two storyline, which wasn't that old at the time Mask of the Phantasm
No.
comes out. So yeah, it's crazy how similar Andrea and Bruce are,
Yeah.
in every way. They're both from well-off families. They both suffered parental loss early in life, and then Andrea again in adulthood. They both, just they're he. I think that's part of the reason why he falls for her so hard, is because she's like one of the only people in the world who truly gets him.
Yeah.
And for just a brief moment, it was able to uh, make him say, "Hey, maybe I am allowed to just have a life. Like, what would my parents be okay with?" And which, oh god, that movie's so good. I'm now picturing the scene in my head of
Yeah.
him at the grave in the rain, and I'm hearing Kevin Conroy, and oh my god. All right, let's let's take it then to a more modern-ish relationship. Modern in that it's only really a few couple decades old, and that's his relationship with Diana Wonder Woman. This is something that really came out of Justice League Unlimited, and a little bit of the comics around then too. And it's become a bigger ship for people in the years since. I've never been as on board with this one personally. To me, it just never, I don't know, I never had got that between the two of them. I don't know. What do you think, Matt?
I think Wonder Woman and Batman makes so much more sense than Wonder Woman and Superman. And I think
Okay.
because you've got a trained warrior and a trained detective. You have
Mhm.
these warriors, these because look, Superman is a defender.
Yeah.
He is not a warrior
Mhm.
traditionally. Superman's never the guy who's going to go out and attack something to make sure something doesn't happen.
No, that's why his logo is in the shape of a shield.
Yeah.
That's why Captain
So,
America carries a shield, because Cap and Super are one for one.
yeah. So I think it's one of those things I never put together. And then when they started doing it in Justice League in the second season, it was just one of those like, that actually makes sense when you get into that personality
Mhm.
type. I also know that Batman's also the kind of person that's like, but if this goes bad, this would be horribly, horribly wrong.
Well, yeah, that's you get that in that episode of Justice League when he's like,
Yeah,
number one, dating within the team never works. Look at
yeah,
John and Shaira. Number two, you're an immortal warrior princess. I'm a rich kid with mommy issues.
yeah.
Like
Serious, serious issues.
serious issues.
Yeah,
Um, I Here's what I will say. Because the characterization of Batman and Wonder Woman in that show is so good, between especially with Kevin and shit.
Susan Eisenberg.
Thank you, Susan Eisenberg. Um, I bought it more with them than I have anywhere else.
Yeah, they
And
had chemistry.
they had chemistry. The two of them together, their presentations of those characters had chemistry. But that presentation of Wonder Woman was so much different than how Wonder Woman is typically presented.
Yeah,
And it usually the times where she's presented as a love interest of Batman, I don't think their characterizations jive quite as well. But it's also not super common. Usually Wonder Woman is either, like you said, Superman, or is just, doing whatever.
yeah. I think they start playing with it in the comic about a year or two before New 52, and then of
Yeah,
course once New 52 hits, it just they completely lean into Superman and Wonder Woman, which had
yeah,
some cool stories because that Superman's also completely different.
yeah,
Like that Superman, I'm a little more into like rookie-ish Superman who's a prick.
Yeah.
probably would be a little more interesting for a Wonder Woman who is a brick. I don't know.
He's the New 52's Wonder Woman is not my favorite characterization of Wonder Woman because they seem to think that, oh, we want to make her seem more heroic, like we want to get away from this fetishization of Wonder Woman and have her just be more straightforward. So that means we have to make her a bitch.
Yeah, and it was a little weird.
It was. It just, and also just the dialogue they gave to her where it just, I don't know, it never jived with me.
Like, I'll be
Um,
honest, I know you love the story. I can't stand Wonder Woman in the Injustice stories. It to
no.
me, it
Yeah.
doesn't make a lick of sense why she's suddenly be like, "Yeah, Superman, let's kill everybody. Fuck
Yeah.
them." Like, "Whoa, calm down."
It's one of those I have to just tap myself in the brain and go like, okay, alternate universe, whatever. Yeah,
Yeah,
Wonder Woman in the Injustice universe is not written as well as I think she could be. I know why they wrote her to be his, his number 2,
his simp.
but for her to be like bloodthirsty about it
Yeah,
didn't totally jive with me. But anyway, the way they I will say though, what they do with Black Canary in the Injustice Comics is fantastic.
yeah.
So let's go from Diana to probably one that most people hate for a lot of reasons. Let's talk about Barbara Gordon. I know we don't want to, but look, this was something that was introduced in the animated series and nobody really liked it, but they kept going with it anyway, and then it made its way into the comics that were based on this Bruce Timm universe that came later. Also not great. It did a little more time in the comics, and eventually I think they realized, okay, we get it. We'll stop with this. And then they brought it back for a really crappy scotch tape scene onto a movie. God damn it. Yeah, Barbara Gordon. Matt, what do you have to say?
I think this is 1000% a weird Bruce Timm thing that I don't agree with.
Yeah.
He is the one who seems to be pushing it. It in my it's first brought up in Batman Beyond, and
Is
it's
it? No,
yeah,
it was brought up in the anime. It was brought
no,
up in
because Batman Beyond comes out before the New Adventures of Batman and Robin. I mean, not the new it comes out
oh, does it?
before the 4th season of Batman.
Oh, gotcha.
The 4th season of Batman is when you start they moderately hint at it there,
Mhm.
and then it's not until you get those direct to DVDs that are kind of the continuation, that continuity, that it
Yeah,
starts becoming a little more like, "Oh, Batgirl's into Bruce Wayne." I don't like this for so many different reasons.
yeah.
Um, the first of all is when you don't establish ages, we get a little creepy.
Because she's kinda
She's
the
a college-ish,
late college, early grad, I
but I
would
don't even
say.
know if that's a step. Like they establish Dick Grayson
Yeah.
is in college. I don't know if they ever established that about Barbara Gordon in the cartoon.
Oh, well, the only indication we get is that, um, in the story of Robin leaving, that happens in the Bruce Timm cartoon, that all centers around like Bruce graduates from college and
Dick
Barbara is in
Dick you mean,
is
Dick you mean.
or yeah, what did I say?
Bruce, I was like, "Whoa."
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, Dick graduates from college, Bruce and Barbara are in the stands watching and clapping. So, she's clearly at least out of college. So, she's at least a year older than Dick. But you gotta remember, that means that's basically like you start banging your son's girlfriend.
I mean, she's at most 23. Let
Yeah,
I'll give 24.
yeah.
Bruce, if this is where you get it this is again, this is where you get into weird timelines,
She's in late teens, early 20s.
and he isn't well into his 30s.
Bruce is in his 40s at this point because this is adult Dick right before Tim comes in.
See, and that's again, this is where you get into like, if you go by the timeline established by the DC,
Yeah.
Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing year 6 or 7. This is pre-New 52,
Okay.
which means that Bruce Wayne is 25 year 1. So he's 33
Okay.
when Dick Grayson becomes Nightwing. So that means if you go by that timeline in the cartoon, he's between 30 and 33, and she's between 20 and 23. There's like a 10-year
Okay.
gap,
So not as big a gap as I originally thought, but
but
it's still uh, it's still weird.
it's also your best friend's daughter. I'm sorry.
It's your best friend slash son's it's your best friend's daughter and your son's girlfriend.
Yeah.
Um and
It's
yeah, it's and again, especially because that whole thing centers around the fact she joins the team, everyone's identities get found out within the span of a day. Robin punches Batman and quits and leaves, and then y'all just started shacking up.
yeah.
Like, God, because by the time that gets revealed, Dick's only been Nightwing for a year at most.
Yeah, and see that's where like the Batman Beyond thing it bothered me, but there was no timeline. So it
Yeah,
could have been like
when they were later on.
she's in her 30s as a cop and he's in his 50s
Yeah,
and they come to like okay, sure. Some of it so it's just
like
really
time has passed.
yeah, it's creepy. All
Yeah,
around creepy for all the creepy reasons. And it's just one of those like, look, it was cute when Tom Selleck and Courtney Cox got together in Friends because no one blamed her. But at
yeah.
the same time, it's still kind of weird.
Yeah, exactly. Anyway, so no one's a fan of Barbara Gordon, but except no one's a fan of Barbara Gordon as a love interest for Batman. Let me be clear,
Yes.
we love Barbara Gordon, just not on a rooftop at the beginning of The Killing Joke. Next one we're gonna go to is I think an underrated one, but also one that is the source of one of my greatest hatreds in DC. Talia al Ghul. I love their cat and mouse back and forth. I don't love that she date rapes Batman and then gives him a son and says, "Here, he's your problem now." Um,
When did that happen?
that was a version of their forget they've since retconned that, but the original story behind Damian Wayne is that basically there was a night they were together and she drugged him to get him to sleep with her, and then that's where Damian came from.
Okay. That's post crisis redo.
Yeah,
That's
and
not
it's
Batman Son of the Demon.
no, it's not Batman Son of the Demon. This is that, and it's terrible and it's awful and it's disgusting. And I know it's since been retconned back to where that's not the thing anymore. And that's not the only reason why I hate Damian Wayne, but that's a big reason why I hate Damian Wayne. That's also what made me drop Talia down some points for me because I also did not. I also just does not seem like something Talia would do.
Yeah.
Talia's got more honor than that. Regardless, she's probably the most, I think, underrated love interest because of again their cat and mouse back and forth is incredible. And the way it just seems like the only thing keeping them apart is the fact that he won't kill.
Yeah. I like I'm trying to think about how deep do I go and potentially make everybody mad at me. Like all right, I'm gonna hit it from this angle instead.
Just be mad. Just tell us why you hate this.
No,
Just
no,
tell
no.
us why you hate this.
I don't hate it,
Yeah.
but I think it's like, look, depending on how many relationships you've had in your life, there's those people who marry their high school sweetheart, so you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Yep.
But there are people you meet, and it's like, this is a wrong thing,
Yeah.
but it's still there.
Yeah.
And no
Oh
matter
yeah.
what, no matter where in your brain you're like, nope, this is the daughter of a tyrant. Even though I'm in this compound trying to save people,
Yeah.
this is the worst idea oh, you're in my room.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's a nice outfit you have.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's what this is. It's not a
Yeah.
relationship. It's just like almost a pseudo primal link and desire.
Yeah.
And
I think you're right. I
Unfortunately,
think you're right, yeah.
yeah, unfortunately, like, look, we're all human,
Yep.
and, like, when given the right opportunity, especially look, it's not like Batman was married
Yeah,
and she's
yeah,
married. Like, you talk about 2 mid-20 people, very attractive, who are spending all this time together, things are gonna happen.
yeah,
And then unfortunately for you, because that's where Damian Wayne comes from, they're not careful about things.
yeah.
And
Uh-oh. Oops.
yeah, now we have issues.
Yeah,
So I think that's where I like it in that, like, there's not a weird, like, "Oh, I am so in love with her, but I can't be with her." It's more just like, "Yeah, I
you
don't
are
wanna."
so bad for me, but
Yeah,
God, you're a McDonald's McDouble.
yeah,
Just God.
yeah. I don't wanna introduce you to Alfred, but there's a high possibility he's gonna catch you in my room, so can you just never come to my house?
Yeah, yeah. I will say the portrayal of their relationship, their dynamic in the Arkham video games, specifically Arkham City, where she's featured, is very good. The use of Ra's al Ghul and Talia al Ghul in that story is great, and honestly, he gets called out for that at one point. He goes to save her, and Oracle's on the comms, and she's like, "I what is it with you that when she's around, like all sense just goes out the window?" Like he gets called on it by everybody. Alfred does too. Because yeah, we've all had that person at some point in our life where it's like, you are terrible for me. I cannot say no to you though.
Yep,
Uh, it sucks, but it's happened to all of us at some point in our life, which takes us then into kind of a similar situation with our final one, which is of course Selena Kyle Catwoman, where they are it's hard to put your finger on if they're good for each other or bad for each other because they're both stubborn in their own ways in such a way that it puts the other person off. You know what I mean? They both have something that pushes the other person away no matter how much the rest of them want to be together. Um but she's also the only one that he's ever actually married
twice.
twice.
I look, we can't control who we love.
Yeah,
We can't control when you meet the person that truly understands you, you know?
yeah.
Not to go off on too much of a tangent with some of this, but it's like there is a level of understanding whom I am that my wife has that is beyond anybody who's ever known me. That she can somehow, like, look, I'm not saying we're perfect. We get into arguments, blah, blah, blah. But there are times when she just knows things I'm not even aware of
Mm.
because she just has this deep understanding of who I am.
Let me tell you something about you that you don't know.
It's not, it sometimes it's more like, well, you're angry because of this. And I'm like, I am not. And then I go, oh,
Damn it.
you're right. Or like, I told the story the other day. It's like, I love to say no when people ask me things. Love it. And the
Mhm.
first couple months we were dating, my wife hated it. And then she realized what I wasn't saying wasn't I wasn't really saying no. I was saying not yet or not now. Or I've got to think about this. And if I like it, I'll come back and say yes.
Mhm.
But it's easy to always say no. So once she realized that, anytime I say no, she just waits for a while for me to come back and go like, okay, well, this.
Hmm.
And like no one in my life has ever understood that, but she does.
I don't think that's the brag you think it is, but
Do what?
I don't think you're bragging quite like you think you are. Because what I'm hearing is, hey Matt, just say what you're thinking, man.
Well, no, it's more of like because everybody will ask you to do, like, the prime example was she wanted to do this movie, and I was like,
Yeah.
no, that's dumb. No. And then like 3 days later, I call her back and I'm like, explain the logistics of what you think this could be. But the other 3 ideas I got told, I said no to and didn't do that because it was
Yeah.
like, hmm. So, yeah. No, I'm a horrible person. I understand. Trust me. But saying no all the time, people learn to stop asking you things, which is woohoo, awesome.
Okay. Well, back to Selena and Bruce.
Yeah. So,
Um,
my point more is that she
yeah,
understands him beyond anybody,
yeah,
and it's not even like you would think Black Canary would completely understand Batman because they were
yeah,
almost the same kind of training and upbringing with Wildcat and blah, blah, blah,
yeah.
blah, depending on your version of the origin. So there's other people there you would think would be more, but something about this woman, she just gets him.
Well, I think they get each other. They
Yes.
get each other, and I think they both know, like, every time Selena says, like, "Hey, just come do things my way. Just come do some fucked up shit with me, and let's just have a good time and just be together." He wants to,
Yeah.
but he doesn't like that he wants to. He knows he shouldn't. And so that's why he keeps her away. And then she sees that in him and she respects that. And she wishes she could have that, but she knows she just wouldn't be able, like, to stay with it. So that's why she keeps him away. They stay apart both to protect themselves and protect each other.
Yeah.
And it's why it's that's why it's both the couple that has to be together but can never be together.
Yeah. Nope, I think that does it. You know, are we really at the end of the list?
We're at the end of the list, man. I because I don't because Zatanna was just a thing for the show. Um,
How about
I don't
Vicky
know.
Vale? D
Nah. I mean, I never. No, that was created for no, no. We're not going through all the movies. Absolutely not.
No, no, I just didn't because she was in the comic before and after the movie, but
Yeah,
it's
I
a
know,
weird
but
kind of thing.
let's be honest. That was just they put a list of names on the wall and threw a dart at the wall, and just there was
Yeah.
not a conscious choice for Vicky Vale. That was just the name they pulled out of the hat
I
for
have
her.
one I wanna bring up just
Oh
because I think
God,
it's hilarious.
what?
In that the f the movie they should have just translated to live action for Batman versus Superman, the world's finest 3 episodes of Superman where Batman in his new design shows up
Oh, is with Lois Lane.
and he dates Lois Lane, and it's like, it makes so much sense.
It
It's so
does.
good, but it's also like having those moments of like, I'm gonna be a little crass and say like, "Bro, he had her.
Yeah,
They were together."
yeah.
And then eventually
Well,
it was just
not
one of
only
those like,
that,
"Wow,
but
guys."
not only that, but the fact that it just pisses Superman off. Just that he's just like, are
Mhm.
you kidding me right now? And especially now that they know who each other are and all that, and going forward, it's like, McMahon, if Justice League Unlimited was for grown-ups, there would have been there'd been moments where Superman's talking shit and Batman's just like, I could have your woman like now.
I love my favorite part of that is when he's at her house, like, I'm not trying to be weird, but it's obvious he was there the night,
Yes.
and they're talking, he's like, "Oh, no, we had a very pleasant time," and then he's like, "Anything about other friend?" "Nothing out of the Joker," and it's like he just
Oh,
totally turns into Batman for, like, a 3 lines.
just code switches. Yeah.
Yeah, and it
He
was
does
just,
that
like,
in
so
the Man Bat episode on Leather Wings in the original animated series when the professor calls about he tested the DNA. He goes, "There's a call from the doctor. Hey doc, what's going on?
yeah, yeah.
Something doesn't sound right about that call."
Yeah, it's so
Because
funny to see him
that's the
do that.
genius of Kevin Conroy's Batman.
Yeah.
All right. Those are the ones those are the women that Batman has loved and that have loved Batman. We may have missed some. We always want to know which one's your favorite. So if you're listening to this episode on Good Pods, you can leave a comment right on the episode. You can also hit us up on Facebook on our Facebook page, facebook.com/WATB pod, and post it there as well. We always love to hear from you guys. If you send us a question, we'd love to read it on the air. You can find me on social media at Mr. Mike Shea.
You can find me on Twitter at Mr. J Ninja.
That is going to do it for We Are the Batman. We'll see you guys again next time. Same bat time, same bat podcast channel.
Bye bye.